Born August 1st, 1942, Jerry Garcia, whether through his music or his presence, had the power to take people to a higher level. With Virgo rising, his life was shaped by two key planets: Mercury, the planet of intellect and communication, and Jupiter, the spiritual teacher. Jupiter ruled his 4th and 7th houses, representing home, relationship, and connections to the public. Mercury ruled both the 1st and 10th houses, linking his identity directly to his career and reputation. Mercury made him bright, curious, and musically expressive. It gave him the ability to communicate not just through words, but through his guitar solos and lyrics. Jupiter made him a guru-like figure, a leader, a symbol of something higher to his fans. But this same chart also held the seeds of his struggles. His fame and success eventually led him into the shadows of addiction. Ketu, the headless karmic shadow, occupied his 6th house of health and challenges. Directly across in his 12th house of loss, isolation, and escapism were Mars and Rahu, tightly conjoined in Leo. This created a powerful 612 axis activation where the impulse to escape pain through intensity and secrecy grew stronger over time. Saturn, the lord of restriction, also aspects his 6th house, adding pressure and karmic difficulty to his physical body. And while Jupiter is usually protective, its aspect to the 6th expanded his battles instead of resolving them. In fact, Jupiter and Venus were in exact degree conjunction, both at 18 degrees Gemini in the 10th house of career. This planetary war tells a story. Jupiter wants to grow through the truth and higher wisdom. Venus wants to enjoy, to seek beauty, love, and sensual pleasure. Together in the 10th, this conflict played out for all to see. His professional success brought both adoration and temptation. His love life, too, was complex. Though he wasn't traditionally handsome, his magnetism was undeniable. His 5th lord, Saturn, ruler of romance and fun, was placed in Rohini Nakshatra, known in Vedic lore as the most alluring of the moon's 27 wives. Placed in the 9th house, this gave him a magnetic, spiritual aura, especially attractive to women and seekers. But Moon, the natural significator of fame, was in his 7th house of partnership, in the sign of Pisces, a boundless, dreamy placement. Jerry couldn't settle easily. His relationships often dissolved into illusion or distance. But the most important configuration in his chart was the 5th and 11th house axis. The 5th house represents creativity, expression, and joy, and the 11th represents recognition, community, and gains. This was the engine of his fame. Mercury, his ruling planet, was tightly conjunct the Sun in Cancer in the 11th house. This placed his identity, represented by the Sun, and intelligence, represented by Mercury, and his sole purpose, in service to the collective. Saturn aspects this pair, adding a serious weighted pressure to his public presence. In an interview, his daughter asked him why he kept returning to drug use, and his answer was, "Because I can't even go outside anymore without being recognized." His fame and his followers became overwhelming. Escape became the only form of solitude he could access. Let's take a look at his planetary periods. He was born into a Mercury dasha, the planet of learning and communication. Mercury was combust, sitting just 1 degree behind the Sun and closely conjoined Pluto, the planet of destruction and transformation. During this time, he lost part of his finger at the age of 4. His father tragically drowned in a fishing accident, and he was sent to live with his grandparents. This all occurred with his 11th house activated, representing community and grandparents, and the Sun, the karaka of the father. These tragedies are linked to the Gandanta point between Cancer and Leo, a karmic knot associated with themes of drowning and endings. At around age 12, he entered a Ketu period. This was a spiritually charged, otherworldly time. During this time, he received his first guitar, began practicing with a missing finger, and channeled his inner world through music. In 1961, he began his Venus dasha, a 20-year period that brought him into the spotlight. He met lyricist Robert Hunter, his lifelong collaborator. By 1965, he co-founded the Grateful Dead, becoming the voice of a generation. Venus activated his 10th house of career and Gemini of communication and ruled his 2nd house of voice, 9th house of beliefs, and 7th house of partnerships. Moon and Saturn, the indicators of fame and public karma, were also active. This was Jerry's peak. But the next period, Sun, was more difficult. The Sun, though in his 11th house of gains, is a malefic and combusts Mercury. This period brought intense purification through loss. In 1981, he married Carolyn Mountain Girl Adams, and in 1985, he was arrested for drug possession. In 1986, he fell into a diabetic coma, a near-death experience. He recovered, and in 1987, his moon dasha began. That same year, the Grateful Dead hit the top of the charts with Touch of Grey, their first radio hit. But Moon in Pisces, opposed Neptune on his ascendant, brought both creativity and confusion. Despite a brief resurgence, his addiction returned by the early 1990s. In 1995, he checked into rehab, and during his Moon-Venus-Sun period, he passed away from a heart attack on August 9th. When asked in an interview what he hoped to be remembered for, he said, "I want to be known for the guy that had fun." With Ketu in his 5th house of creativity and joy, it's clear Jerry had spent this life and many others doing exactly that.